This is the wildest survival challenge ever. Male and female strangers. They meet completely naked. No gear or extras allowed. No food, no drinking water. They must team up to survive in the wild, as long as they can endure and survive 21 days in the wild. They will receive $1 million reward. The female contestant this time is named Hanora, 28 years old. From the state of California. She is an extreme sports athlete and a traditional medicine doctor. Her personality is like a wild child. She never does her nails or shaves her legs. On the contrary, she loves wilderness survival. The male contestant is named Matt, 24 years old, from Portland, Oregon. He is a primitive survival instructor, a blacksmith, and a strict vegetarian. He started smoking weed in 5th grade, started using stimulants in 7th grade. He only got clean once he matured. Matt joined this challenge to test himself, to see whether the skills he teaches his students actually work in real situations. This time's challenge takes place in Lencois, Maranhenses National Park on Brazil's northern coast. 36,000 square kilometers of sand dunes and 26,000 square kilometers of semi-aquatic vegetation, together forming the largest national park in South America. Unlike any other survival location from previous episodes, this time the difficulty level skyrockets. They are thrown into glaringly white, empty sand dunes and rain-filled lagoons scattered throughout the rainy season. Let's explain briefly about these lagoons. They basically have an unusual salt level. Alkalization occurs in dry regions. This place is also home to deadly rattlesnakes and 30-some-meter long wolf spiders. Time for the undressing part. Hanora has been a naturist since childhood, so she didn't care at all about the naked requirement. Matt not only didn't feel pressured by this requirement, he actually loves being naked. He participates every year in the World Naked Bike Ride in Portland. Arranged by the show's producers, the two strangers quickly met face to face. First came the necessary handshake. Matt was a bit shy when talking. Hanora wasn't shy at all. She talked just like she would under normal conditions. Hanora even worried whether Matt could keep up with her physically. Each person was allowed to bring only one survival tool. Matt brought a handmade Indian-style machete he forged himself. Hanora brought a magnifying glass her father gave her before he passed away, and a mission instruction map. The two began their first day of the challenge. They walked across endless sand dunes while chatting about their families, and casually observed the all-sand scenery. They kept going until after 6 p.m. The sun set very quickly. They had to hurry and find a place where they could sleep well at night. To avoid the strong desert winds, they chose a sunken area, then built a sand wall like a sandcastle. After night fell, both felt like they would sleep like babies. But reality wasn't as good as they imagined. They were bitten by mosquitoes and sandflies all night and couldn't sleep at all. Hanora told the camera that being here felt like every day lasted a year. By day 2, early in the morning, both of them were covered in swollen insect bites. They saw a green patch in the distance, immediately set off and headed toward it. Upon reaching the oasis, they both felt it was a great spot to set up camp. They found some palm trees and chopped them down for roofing. Hanora found lots of ants on the leaves and tasted them. They had a sour flavor similar to lemon. Hanora enthusiastically invited Matt to try them too. Matt said he's a strict vegetarian. He couldn't give that up on just day 2. Matt didn't plan to eat meat. If animals were caught, he'd give them to his partner. Hanora felt energized after that ant snack. While carrying the palm trees, Hanora smacked Matt in the face by accident. Matt carried 2 palm branches. Hanora carried 5 at once. After returning to the campsite, the two first searched for drinking water. Hanora took out her magnifying glass. She wanted to use ultraviolet radiation to treat the water, but the sun wasn't cooperating and kept hiding behind the clouds. Matt felt the wait was too long. He went back to start building the shelter. Hanora placed high importance on the quality of drinking water. Never drink untreated water. Matt gathered wood near the campsite and started building the shelter. After some hammering and tying, the frame was quickly finished. While Hanora was working on the water, she lay down and fell asleep on the sand. Matt worried Hanora would get sunburned, so he rushed over to check on her. In the afternoon, Hanora continued to work under the blazing sun to sterilize the water. Matt kept working on finishing the shelter. After finishing the shelter, he found a variety of fruits, including wild ground cherries and some unnamed fruits. Hanora got sunburned red all over her body from treating the water. She returned to the shelter and began weaving a hat and clothing for herself. She worked until evening. Matt, too thirsty to wait, decided to drink directly from the lagoon. To avoid upsetting Hanora, Matt secretly drank the water without telling her. By day 3, Hanora was so hungry she could barely walk. She didn't even have the strength to crack open trees for edible parts. Matt kindly lent her a hand. Hanora found a large wasp inside the tree. Without hesitation, she popped it into her mouth. Even when Matt warned her to remove the stinger, it was already too late. Matt planned to rest in the shelter and avoid exposure to the sun. Hanora remained firm in her principle. Water must be treated before drinking. No risks should be taken. She was also very worried Matt's untreated water might cause health issues. While Matt was resting in the shelter, he caught a bug that crawled in. Matt, a strict vegetarian, tied up the insect and left it for Hanora to eat. Hanora told the camera that she never expected Matt to be so lazy. Totally had a wait for fruit to drop attitude. After returning to the shelter, Hanora used the magnifying glass to cook the insect. Its outer color slowly turned red, just like boiled lobster, very appetizing. Then came a moment of pure dining joy. She slowly savored it with great care. It was unbelievably tasty. Hanora praised her sun-grilled meat method as extremely useful. After nightfall, desert winds picked up to over 48 km/h. Temperatures dropped sharply to 14 degrees C. By day 4, due to the sudden cold, both had been shivering for several nights in a row. By day 7, Hanora's strength was completely depleted. She had no energy to go outside and could only rest in the shelter. Hanora wanted Matt to go out and search for food. Matt said his strategy was to stay as still as possible. Stability comes first. Their opinions completely clashed. Hanora got extremely irritated by Matt's words. She thought it was outrageous that Matt would rather lie there than help. He was incredibly lazy. Angrily, Hanora scolded Matt. That fat, useless slob, not only fat, but also smelled terrible. Every night the way you smell makes me want to throw up. You're disgusting, dumb, and lazy. Matt remained calm and didn't argue with Hanora. He quietly listened while she vented her anger. After Hanora left the shelter, she still seemed upset. When talking to the camera, she was so angry she cried. By day 8, the two began dividing their materials, splitting the shelter supplies. Since most of the palm leaves had been carried by Hanora, she took the majority of the leaves with her. In the afternoon, a heavy storm hit their oasis, bringing winds over 50 km/h, and a cold front with temperatures dropping below 10 degrees C. The cold nights and heavy rain made Hanora so cold she could barely speak clearly. She could only hide in the newly built shelter and shiver. By day 9, it rained all day. Both of them stayed soaked the whole time. When night came, the cold returned. How cold Hanora felt aside. Mentally, she was incredibly tough. She kept encouraging herself in front of the cameras. By day 10, finally the heavy downpour stopped. The two were finally able to get a good night's sleep. By day 11, Matt started digging a hole with his bare hands. The hole could block the wind very well, significantly improving warmth. Aside from resting, Hanora still worked under the sun using the magnifying glass to treat water. By day 12, Hanora was so hungry she couldn't stand it anymore. She began searching everywhere for food. Matt remained steady like an old dog, mainly moving little and resting often. Hanora was so hungry she ate whatever she could find. Matt managed his food supply very steadily. Every day he ate 121 centimeter cactus, then rested to preserve energy, trying not to move much. By day 13, Matt's strategy was still to avoid movement. Hanora still didn't rest at all, constantly searching for food. By day 14, Hanora was so hungry she cried in front of the camera. She especially wanted to finish the challenge, but it was so hard not being able to find food. Hanora was burning more energy than she could take in, and every time she stood up, she nearly fainted. Her strength had reached its limit. Hungry and dehydrated, Hanora could only wipe her tears helplessly. She cried non-stop. "I need salt, I need sugar." By day 15, Hanora was so weak she had no strength to move and lay down all day. She started showing symptoms like eye twitching and body aches. Hanora couldn't hold back and cried again. After 2 p.m., Hanora gritted her teeth and forced herself to go out and search for coconuts. Coconuts contain electrolytes the body desperately needs. Luckily, her efforts paid off. She endured the pain in her body and finally found a coconut. After returning to camp, she borrowed Matt's machete. At last, she got to drink coconut water. Hanora said it was honestly the best thing she'd ever tasted. Around 3 p.m., Hanora went to Matt and sincerely apologized. She admitted that she shouldn't have used such harsh words to insult Matt. Matt said he could understand. In such harsh conditions, emotional instability was hard to avoid. At that moment, Hanora felt Matt wasn't useless after all. At least he was forgiving. Once everything was out in the open, the two let go of their past tensions. Around 4 p.m., Hanora, due to hunger, exhaustion, and heat stroke, collapsed on the ground. Matt discovered her and tried to communicate with her, but Hanora didn't respond at all. Matt had no choice but to call the crew to bring in medical staff. The medics immediately performed emergency treatment, but no matter how they called, Hanora still didn't respond. The crew rushed Hanora to a local hospital as fast as possible. After examination, doctors found her sodium and potassium levels were extremely low, along with signs of dehydration. After a series of emergency treatments, Hanora recovered, but doctors concluded that in her condition, she could no longer continue the challenge. Hanora had no choice but to withdraw. By day 17, after learning that Hanora had recovered, Matt felt relieved. He had always feared he might collapse like Hanora. By day 18, Matt was lonely and bored. Besides resting, he watched ants fight just to kill time. By day 21, Matt checked the mission map. According to the map, Matt's exit point was 8 kilometers to the south. Using the sun to guide him, Matt had to cross rolling sand dunes to reach a river, then travel southeast along the river for 48 km. The rescue helicopter would pick him up there. Matt brought the magnifying glass that Hanora's father had left her and set out. Under the blazing sun, Matt gritted his teeth and pushed forward. The only good thing was enjoying the beautiful scenery for free. Along the way, he walked and rested and didn't reach the rescue point until the afternoon. It wasn't until he boarded the helicopter that Matt finally felt at ease. He had finally earned the prize safely. A comfortable life would begin from here. After the challenge, Matt returned the magnifying glass that Hanora's father had left her. Hanora was overjoyed. It clearly showed the pure friendship between the two. After checking the final stats, Hanora lost 4 kilo in 16 days. Matt lost 7.5 kilo in 21 days. This is surely the most intense survival challenge. Between male and female strangers, meeting each other completely unclothed, no outside items allowed, no food, no water. They form a team to survive in the wild, as long as they can persist and survive in the wilderness for 21 days. They'll get a $1 million prize. The female contestant this time is named Kimberly, 23 years old, from Moab, Utah. Her occupation is a baker, a true wild child. She got pregnant unexpectedly in her first year of college. She then gave birth to a daughter and became a single mother. She enjoys building shelters and foraging outdoors. Survival skills like fire making with a bow drill are all self-taught. This time, she joined the challenge to improve her daughter's quality of life. The male contestant is named Gary, 53 years old, from Nevada. He is a retired police officer. Currently works as a firearms tactics instructor. He was stationed in Afghanistan and Iraq for many years. He has a happy family with 7 children. This challenge takes place in Panama, Central America, San Jose Island off the Pacific coast. In this dense jungle live aggressive wild boars and venomous spiders, 3-meter-long red-tailed boas, and countless thick swarms of insects like white termites. Because the ocean tide flows straight into the river mouth, saltwater caimans can also be found here. Daytime temperatures are very hot, while nighttime temperatures get cold enough to make you shiver. The two were taken by the crew's small boat to a location not far from the island, and officially entered the clothes-off phase. Kimberly didn't say much, just said, "Let's go all in," and immediately stepped into challenge mode. Gary also wasn't hesitant about the naked requirement. Quickly got into challenge mode. The two strangers quickly met on the shore. From a distance, they waved to greet each other. As they got closer, they shook hands first. Then came a Western-style hug. First, they asked each other's names, then stared at each other for a bit and had nothing more to say. Next, they went to retrieve the supply bags provided by the crew. The survival tool provided by the crew was a coil of rope. The survival tool Gary brought was a tactical axe. The survival tool Kimberly brought was a self-made bow drill fire starter and a navigation map provided by the crew. The two carefully studied the route together. After confirming the route clearly, they began the first day of the challenge. On the way, they learned about each other's professions. Kimberly said she didn't like people in law enforcement. If Gary acted bossy, she definitely wouldn't tolerate it. Around 2 p.m., the two found a stream, but both were concerned about the water's safety, so they chose not to drink it directly. They continued walking until nearly 4 p.m. The two found a spot very suitable for building a camp. They discussed a plan of action. Around 4:30, they began collecting materials to build a shelter. Kimberly was surprised when she learned Gary's age. She felt Gary definitely knew more than she did. Gary felt Kimberly was pretty good and might be compatible with him. After being busy for a while, both looked at the stream nearby and felt a bit thirsty. Kimberly took out the bow drill and began working to make fire. But after many attempts, she was still unsuccessful. Kimberly said she had only used the bow drill to make fire twice. It was very likely to fail. After trying all day, she still couldn't succeed. Gary saw that Kimberly was exhausted. He directly said to skip it today and try making fire tomorrow. Night fell, and the two lay in the shelter built against a tree. The comfort level was really bad. They occasionally heard animal noises nearby. Sleep quality was definitely not guaranteed. Time moved on to day 2. At this point, both had extremely dry throats. Making fire had become urgent. Without fire-starting tools, Gary had no idea how to make primitive fire. Kimberly brought a bow drill, but it was obvious her skills were very poor. Kimberly tried many times, but ultimately failed. Without fire, there was no way to boil water. Gary decided to drink directly from the stream. Kimberly, hungry and thirsty, had no choice but to drink directly with Gary. Around 6:30 p.m., Kimberly continued working with the bow drill to make fire, but still failed. Gary felt bringing the bow drill was a bad decision on Kimberly's part. He no longer had hope for making fire. After dark around 10:30 p.m., the temperature dropped sharply. Gary said he was so cold that all the joints in his body hurt. It was truly unbearable. Around 3 a.m., Kimberly suggested they could keep warm together. Gary flatly refused. Time moved on to day 3. Kimberly talked to Gary about dealing with the cold at night. She asked Gary why he didn't want to share body heat. Gary said if he got intimate with anyone other than his wife, he would feel very uncomfortable. He couldn't go against his own principles. Kimberly pressed on, asking even if the temperature was extremely low and freezing, he still wouldn't? Gary still firmly refused. Gary said he would never abandon his teammate. But Kimberly bringing the bow drill and not being able to make fire was a major threat to survival. Kimberly asked if letting her freeze wasn't also a threat to survival. Gary bluntly said, "Do you think I owe you anything? On the contrary, you owe the team. You brought a useless survival tool here." After the conversation, Kimberly ran to a secluded spot and cried alone, while constantly encouraging herself. Time moved on to day 4. At sunrise, Kimberly began trying to make fire. After persistent and tireless effort, she finally produced an ember. After carefully working on it, she finally saw the flame she had long hoped for. Gary was completely shocked when he saw it. Kimberly was overwhelmed with joy. Gary said he was truly proud of Kimberly. Now that they had fire, the next step was to gather firewood. Gary got ready to collect more wood. They absolutely couldn't let the fire go out due to lack of fuel. But chopping wood was heavy work. Very quickly, Gary felt he couldn't handle it well. He couldn't help but sigh that he was no longer the young man who used to chase down thieves across 10 blocks. After chopping wood for a while, Gary passed out while resting. The crew quickly called in medical staff to check on him. The medical team examined him and said Gary had low blood pressure. Due to not eating for a long time, lack of nutrition had led to the fainting. In the end, the medical staff said Gary's low blood pressure could lead to cardiac arrest. They advised Gary to withdraw from the challenge. For the sake of his own safety, Gary apologized to Kimberly and chose to exit the challenge. It was obvious to Kimberly that being left alone would be extremely difficult. She shed tears while trying to motivate herself. After nightfall, Kimberly was attacked by swarming insects. She truly felt like she was going crazy. She couldn't sleep at all. Time moved on to day 5. Kimberly dismantled the previous shelter and began building a new one. She still hadn't had anything to eat these past few days. Feeling hungry, Kimberly started looking for food. After a round of searching, she discovered a coconut in a crack near the riverbank. At first, she was quite excited, but after cracking it open and tasting it, she realized the coconut was spoiled. Completely inedible. All that effort was wasted. Feeling helpless, Kimberly could only return to camp disappointed. Time moved on to day 6. Kimberly, weak from hunger, cried while telling the camera about the hardship she was facing. She said she lay next to the fire, smelling the smoke and imagining all kinds of food. Roll cakes, burgers, now she could only sit and imagine their flavors. It was truly unbearable. By noon, Kimberly went searching for food again. This time, she had better luck. Kimberly found 3 coconuts beside a palm tree. After cracking them open, she finally got to eat fresh coconut. She ate one to regain energy, then brought the remaining 2 back to camp. As night fell, Kimberly lay by the fire in the newly built shelter. She heard animal movements not far away. She got up to check and saw a wild boar staring at her. It seemed like it was preparing to attack. Kimberly could only yell loudly to scare the wild boar away. Time moved on to day 7. Because of the boar staring at her, Kimberly barely slept last night. She had to stay alert the whole time. Thinking about how delicious pork tastes, Kimberly set up a hunting trap not far from camp. She chose a small tree and tied a rope to it, then bent the branch down and secured it with a trigger mechanism. Finally, she placed a snare loop beside the trigger. When an animal passes by and touches the wire, it triggers the trap. The branch springs up. The snare loop then tightens around the animal. As night fell, animals indeed showed up near the trap. On day 8, Kimberly went to check the hunting trap. She found the bait had been eaten by animals, but the trap hadn't been triggered. Kimberly optimized the trap, replaced the bait, and silently waited for prey to take the bait. As night came, animals continued visiting Kimberly's trap. Even though the bait kept getting eaten, the trap still didn't go off. For the next 5 days, it stayed the same, always no results. Time moved on to day 13. Kimberly went to check the trap, and once again saw the bait was gone, but the trap hadn't been triggered. In that moment of total defeat, she collapsed to the ground. Facing the camera, she thought of her daughter, and couldn't hold back her tears. But thinking of giving her daughter a better life, Kimberly was once again filled with confidence. Time moved on to day 18. Kimberly was starving, and she no longer relied solely on the trap for food. She started searching for other food sources. After a while, Kimberly discovered a small caiman in the river. She immediately decided to try the taste of this small creature. Kimberly slowly approached, first pinning it down with a long stick, then took out her axe and struck a few times, sending the little caiman on its way to the afterlife. Next, she skinned and cleaned the insides. Once cleaned, Kimberly brought the meat back to camp to grill and smoke. With smoked meat, she'd have food for the remaining days. Not long after, Kimberly got to enjoy delicious grilled meat. Once the grilled meat hit her stomach, she instantly felt her energy return. After eating her fill, Kimberly remarked, "The grilled meat was truly delicious." At night, Kimberly was bitten so badly by mosquitoes she couldn't bear it. She came up with an idea to mix urine with ash and rub it on her body to repel the bugs. By day 19, after sunrise, Kimberly heard animal noises near the trap. She quickly went to check and found that sure enough, a small wild boar had been caught. Kimberly looked at the cute little boar. After thinking for a while, she let it go. Kimberly felt that there were only 2 days left in the challenge, and she already had caiman meat to eat. It was enough to carry her through to the end. Kimberly believed letting the small wild boar go could serve as a good example for her daughter. On day 21, it was finally time to leave. Kimberly was very happy. After packing up, Kimberly took out the map to study the retreat route. To reach the extraction point, she had to head east, crossing dense jungle and difficult terrain. She had to watch out for snakes and venomous spiders, and endure extreme temperatures and stifling humidity. Only by reaching the final extraction point would she officially complete the challenge. After confirming the route, Kimberly began her journey to the rescue point. By around 11 a.m., Kimberly was sweating profusely from the heat. Sharp branches kept cutting into her feet, causing stinging pain. Kimberly didn't stop to rest. She kept going until nearly 2 p.m. At that point, she reached the final stretch. Climbing the last slope, she arrived at the rescue point. Seeing the rescue team, Kimberly finally felt relieved. She got into the rescue vehicle, completing the challenge. Surviving alone for 17 days was truly admirable. After reviewing the challenge stats, Kimberly had lost 10.5 kg over 21 days. Gary had lost 3.5 kg over 4 days. This is absolutely the most thrilling wilderness survival show. A pair of strangers, a man and a woman, face each other without any clothes. Nothing foreign is allowed on their bodies, no food, no water. They must team up for wild survival. As long as they can persist for 21 days in the wild, they will receive a prize worth millions of dollars. The female contestant this time is named Danny, 25 years old, from New Jersey. She is a wilderness emergency responder and a vegetarian. The male contestant is named Charlie, 52 years old, from New York. He is stubborn and a professional construction worker. He was once a Marine. Stubborn by nature, most of his survival skills were learned from the Marines. He used to be in the South American jungle. This challenge takes place in the Mendoaca River Valley in northern Colombia, 16 kilometers from the Caribbean coast. The area is hot, humid, and covered in thick, hard-to-cross jungle. This area is home to many types of venomous snakes and beautiful poisonous frogs. There are also caiman crocodiles over 3 meters long. Time to take off the outerwear. Danny is a very easygoing girl. She doesn't mind the show's requirement for nudity. Her hand movements are very smooth. In no time, she turned into a big white bunny. Charlie feels no pressure at all about this requirement. He is a very typical rugged man. Repeatedly took off his outerwear without hesitation. As arranged by the show, the two who had never met quickly encountered each other. The 25 and 52 duo first shook hands and exchanged names. Then came a warm hug. They handled the awkwardness quite well. They both immediately made a pact to never quit midway. They first studied the mission map. The map showed that they needed to find a water source and a campsite before dark. After confirming the route, they began the first day of the challenge. While walking, Charlie introduced himself to Danny. "I'm an excellent construction worker. Building shelter is absolutely no big deal for me. Back when I was a Marine, I trained in the Panama jungle, so I'm a true jungle survival expert." Charlie was very annoyed by the buzzing sound of mosquitoes. He directly used leaves to make earplugs and blocked his ears. Then he asked Danny what skills she was good at. Danny said she's very good at making fire, building shelter, and braiding rope. Charlie said he's very skilled at setting traps and hunting. When the time comes, he'll be in charge of finding food, and Danny will handle cooking. It's the perfect team. After hearing Charlie's whole plan, Danny quickly said that she's a vegetarian and has been for 21 years. Charlie immediately asked if she planned to continue being vegetarian here. Danny firmly answered that she's sticking with it. Charlie could only show support for his teammate. But deep down, he thought maybe he'd end up having to carry Danny out of there. Along the way, they discovered a creature, and Charlie instantly switched to capture mode. In no time, he caught it. Charlie played with it in his hand for a while. He said it looked kind of cute. Charlie really wanted to eat it. As a vegetarian, Danny couldn't bear to harm an animal's life. Danny told Charlie that they still hadn't found a campsite yet. Finding a place to camp and making fire before dark was more important. After some persuasion from Danny, Charlie released the creature back to its nest. At around 1:30 p.m., they found a river. Following the river, they quickly found a good spot to set up camp. At around 3:30 p.m., they began gathering materials for the shelter. Charlie used a machete to cut some bamboo to use as the main material for the shelter. Cutting bamboo took a lot of Charlie's energy. Danny advised Charlie to sit down and rest, not to exhaust himself on the first day. Charlie said he still had a lot to do and couldn't rest yet. The sun would set soon, and they had to finish collecting materials before dark. As a wilderness emergency responder, Danny noticed Charlie already showing signs of dehydration. Danny gathered some dry branches and tinder. Using a lighter, they quickly made a fire. Once the fire was going, they filled bamboo with water and placed it over the fire to boil. Very soon, they both drank their first sips of water. That night, around midnight, they heard loud howling from howler monkeys near the campsite. Both of them spent the night feeling anxious and uneasy. Time moved on to day 2. Because of the howler monkeys disturbing them last night, Charlie started sharpening his large knife early in the morning. A small slip caused him to cut his finger. Danny wanted to help Charlie bandage the wound. Charlie felt such a small wound didn't need a bandage. He directly refused Danny's kindness. Danny was very worried that Charlie's wound might get infected. But Charlie was very stubborn and didn't listen to Danny's advice at all. Around 2:30 p.m., they began building the shelter. Charlie cut bamboo into suitable lengths. Danny used vines to tie and secure everything. The roof was layered with leaves and weighed down with branches. And just like that, the shelter was done. That night at dawn, the fire went out. Danny was so cold she couldn't sleep. Charlie cared a lot about Danny and got up to restart the fire himself. It took more than half an hour of effort to make fire again. Since Danny was very cold, Charlie covered her with everything they had. He didn't sleep and stayed up to keep the fire going strong. Time moved on to day 3, and at sunrise, Danny began looking for food. Being a vegetarian, Danny hoped to find some kind of fruit. Charlie really wanted to eat meat. He ran to the riverbank and flipped rocks in search. Danny found some river greens up in the trees. According to Danny, they were full of nutrients and good for the body. She brought them back to camp and they both ate. Danny asked Charlie if it tasted good. Charlie carefully took a small bite. He frowned and said it tasted like eating leaves. Danny explained to Charlie that eating it would provide lots of vitamins. Charlie didn't get it and replied directly that eating this wouldn't keep him alive for 21 days. At around 3 p.m., Charlie found 2 mangoes. He quickly brought the ripe yellow mangoes for Danny to eat. While he ate one that had worms, Danny ate happily. Charlie noticed there were still some unripe mangoes on the tree. Back at camp, Danny helped Charlie clean off dog ticks from his body. The longer ticks stay on the body, the higher the risk of disease. Seeing so many ticks on his body made Danny very worried they'd get Lyme disease. Without tweezers, it was very hard to fully remove the ticks from the skin. Charlie also noticed a tick near the corner of Danny's eye. Luckily, Charlie's technique was precise and he got all the ticks out. As for helping Danny remove ticks from other places, they didn't go into detail. They discovered a small stream. Behind it was a waterfall. The waterfall flowed into a small pool and then into a rapid stream. Charlie felt the water looked fine and safe. He drank a little directly to try it. Danny felt that now that they had fire, they already had safe drinking water. But Charlie still took the risk to drink like that, which was really too stubborn. Charlie told the camera to watch him. If he got sick tomorrow, then they'd know if the water was safe. Back at camp, Charlie went looking for more mangoes for Danny to make her happy. But while climbing the tree to get mangoes, he fell and got hurt badly. The big knife in his hand almost cut into his thigh. Afraid Danny would get mad if she found out and scold him. After bringing the mangoes back to camp, Charlie didn't tell Danny he had fallen. That night, around 4 a.m., they both got busy picking off dog ticks. Danny asked Charlie how many he had gotten so far. Charlie said 23 already. It really was a long night of tick picking. Time moved on to day 4, and Charlie didn't show any symptoms from drinking the stream water yesterday. Charlie used his own body to prove the stream water could be drunk directly. Not eating much and not sleeping well at night, Danny's body started to feel unwell, so she decided to take it easy today and mainly rest. Charlie decided to let Danny rest at the campsite while he went to get water. But when talking to Danny, his tone came off like he was assigning tasks. Danny felt very upset about this and didn't listen to Charlie. Stubbornly, she went with Charlie to fetch spring water. Charlie saw that Danny was very angry and couldn't help but explain that he just thought she didn't feel well and wanted her to rest. He had no intention of ordering her around. Danny was very angry about Charlie's commanding tone. No matter how much Charlie explained, she still didn't forgive him. Charlie felt very wronged. He only wanted to help because he saw Danny was tired. Charlie didn't mean to boss anyone around at all. After returning to the campsite, Charlie still sincerely apologized to Danny. Time moved on to day 6. Charlie flipped rocks in the stream looking for freshwater crayfish. But after searching for a while, he didn't find any crayfish, but did find lots of water snails. Back at camp, Charlie began roasting the water snails. Danny asked if he planned to roast them alive like that. Charlie replied that of course they had to be roasted alive. Danny felt these were also living beings. Watching them burst in the fire was truly heartbreaking. Charlie was speechless and felt Danny was being overly fanatical. Danny didn't think she was fanatical, just holding firmly to her beliefs. Even tiny creatures like snails deserve respect. All life is equal. Charlie was left speechless by Danny's words. He released the remaining uneaten snails back into the water. Time moved on to day 9, and while cutting bamboo, Charlie accidentally sliced his hand. When Danny returned from swimming, she saw Charlie's wound. To prevent infection, Danny wanted to help bandage it. At first, Charlie was still stubborn and refused to bandage it. But after Danny persuaded and pressured him, both at once, Charlie agreed to let Danny bandage it. After cleaning the wound with fresh water, Danny used leaves to wrap the wound. Time moved on to day 11. At sunrise, Charlie was starving and started making a spear trap. He secured it to a tree and used a mango as bait. Back at camp, he also set a crayfish trap in the stream. The design was simple, just sticks placed in bamboo with a small gap in between. Danny gathered some edible yellow flowers and leaves. Time moved on to day 13, and the trap Charlie set hadn't caught anything. Starving, Charlie made a fish hook and started fishing. Danny found a red almond fruit in the forest. This nut was not only tasty, but also rich in nutrients. Danny didn't waste any part of it, even ate the skin. Charlie fished until after 2 p.m. and still hadn't caught anything. That night, Danny noticed Charlie had been very down the past few days. Danny knew that if they could find food, Charlie would regain his spirit. The fire was newly lit. Time moved on to day 15, and Charlie went to check the trap he had set. The trap hadn't been triggered and the bait was still intact. He could only helplessly return to camp. That night, Charlie told the camera that he was truly starving. He couldn't even hold the camera steadily anymore. If only they had food, it would be so good. Time moved on to day 18, and Charlie was so hungry he became silent. He didn't even want to speak anymore. Danny clearly sensed a big change in Charlie. He was even considering giving up midway. While out foraging, Danny discovered a frog. Being vegetarian, Danny had a tough internal struggle. In the end, she still chose to catch the frog so Charlie could eat. Back at camp, Charlie saw the frog Danny had brought for him. He was so touched he couldn't express it. He truly didn't expect someone like Danny to catch a frog for him to eat. Danny said she felt very guilty, but she knew Charlie really needed food. While Charlie handled the frog, Danny ran off to go swimming. Charlie made a grilled meal, not wasting a single bit, even ate all the bones. Time moved on to day 20. Around 7 a.m., both carried vines they had prepared and set out. They needed to build a bamboo raft to reach the rescue point. They found bamboo and started chopping to make the raft. While cutting bamboo, Charlie didn't notice a beehive and ended up getting stung over 30 times. It wasn't until nearly 5 p.m. that they finished the raft. They immediately sat on the raft and started paddling toward the rescue point. They constantly stayed alert for caiman crocodiles in the water. Unexpectedly, not long after, it started to rain. They kept going in the rain until nightfall before stopping to rest. They rested directly on the bamboo raft by the riverbank. Charlie let Danny rest while he stayed up to keep watch, to guard against caiman in the water and predators nearby. Luckily, Charlie was very alert. Not long after, Charlie spotted a crocodile sneaking up to the edge of the raft. Good thing he noticed in time, otherwise they might have become its snack. Time moved on to day 21. At around 5:30 a.m., they started heading to the rescue point. They still had to paddle 3.2 kilometers to reach the extraction point at the Caribbean coast. The rescue boat would pick them up there. They kept paddling until about 10 a.m. before reaching the rescue point. Because of coral reefs and big waves, the rescue boat could only anchor far away. They had no choice but to swim through the big waves to reach the boat. The strong ocean waves made them suffer greatly. Only after complete exhaustion did they finally board the rescue boat. After reviewing the challenge results, Charlie had lost a total of 11 kilos in 21 days. Danny had lost a total of 6 kilos in 21 days.